Hi, today we're talking about 5 tips to get your invoices paid on time. Now, the biggest risk to any business is poor cash flow. We've talked a lot about that. And one of the biggest risks to cash flow in the service business world is not getting paid on time. Now, while letting the air out of their tires or throwing a brick through their window might be attractive, it isn't very productive in terms of getting paid. And by the way, nor is going on social media to complain about them because there are things called libel laws. The answer lies in how you set things up well before the time comes when they need to pay you, and that starts with a well-formed contract. Now, we're not going to go into detail about everything that you need in a good contract, not in this video anyway, but we are going to highlight the payment elements. A great contract always has these 3 elements, and the first one is payment terms. You need to specify your payment terms and always get at least 50% up front. And don't start work until you receive it, okay? Number 2, specify payment milestones. You should always try to collect payment as you go so that you're minimizing the risk of non-payment at the end of the gig. You only have leverage while you have not sent the work that the client wants, okay? So use that leverage as much as you possibly can. And also be really clear what happens if the payment milestones are not met and you're not paid. And that is, you stop work until they are. Number 3, specify penalties for late payment. I advise my students to think, that bastard has stolen my money, when they're writing those penalties, because then you get a nice kind of edge on it. Okay, now look, here's some positively lurid stories about 2 of the stupid things that people do in this area. A survey conducted in 2015 in the UK of thousands of large and small businesses showed that around $5 billion of supply of services or products had not been invoiced at all. And the main reason given, oh man, we've been so busy, eh? We forgot. I'd love to be that busy. That's fucking insane when you think about it. And that number did not include small freelance businesses. And the second insane thing that people do is that they don't have an accounting software system to issue and track their invoices. So they do it all by hand, scratching away like this, like Mr. McCorber. And they send the invoice in the snail mail. About 1/5, 20% of small businesses in the US aren't using any form of bookkeeping software or online apps to manage their businesses, according to a new survey that's just come out. Now, this is called the Success Through Accounting Study, and it was done of many business-to-business companies, and they found that 18% of small businesses don't use accounting software, and only 1 in 5 actually have integrated their accounting software with an invoicing and payments product. So everything's done by hand. It's ludicrous. Now, if that weren't bad enough, it actually gets worse. Another survey just released last year in the UK found out that small UK businesses are chasing nearly £15 billion in late payments, which is almost £1 billion increase compared to 6 months earlier. Now, for those of you that are a bit hard of hearing, £15 billion is around about $18 billion, okay? Half of the respondents in that survey said that the mountain of money that they're owed has prevented them from investing in their business. 50% of those businesses are owed up to £20,000 and a whole bunch are owed even more. And here's the real kicker, 72% of those thousands of businesses that were surveyed, they spend 3 days a month chasing money that they're owed. What a complete waste of time. So, how do you make sure that you don't get into that situation in the first place? Because, you know, getting paid on time, it's a really big deal. So I've got 6 little tips here for you that can help. Now, I know most people go for 5 or 7 or 10, but you know, I'm not most people if you haven't already realized that. Number 1, I mentioned getting money up front and getting progress payments, and that's how you minimize your risk. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, tell them when you expect to get paid. The number of invoices I've seen from small businesses with no due date on them, it's shocking. As a general rule of thumb, people won't pay until they have to. I know I don't. If you don't tell them when to pay, they're just going to wait till you bug them. Every invoice you send out should have a due date on it, printed in large font. The more specific you can be, the better. Instead of having your invoice say, payment 30 days from receipt, right, August the 12th, 2019. The extra clarity makes it perfectly clear and makes it more likely that it's going to be added to somebody's calendar and you're going to get paid. Okay, number 3, make it easy for people to pay you. Thanks to modern technology, you don't have to wait for your customers to get the invoice in the mail or fill out the check and send it back. Instead, you just give them a link to your email invoice and they can pay you online, straight into your bank account. But they won't unless you give them the option, okay? So by adding a payment link in your digital invoice, you can entice customers into making their payments easily and early. Many of the invoicing software options that are out there offer this functionality. Xero, for example, connects with PayPal, and QuickBooks Payments has its own processing. They all do it. All you need to do is use the things that are out there. Number 4, remind people that they need to pay and the date is coming fairly shortly. Now you've told them when to pay, you've told them how to pay, now tell them again. As the payment deadline approaches, set up a reminder email to let them know that the deadline is coming up. There's a couple of companies that are doing that with me now, and I'll tell you what, I never ever miss their payments because they've got the little schedule, they tell me a week before, 2 days before, on the day, and I pay. Schedule the email when you send the invoice so you'll never ever miss a reminder, and it works really well, as I've just mentioned. Just like you would with your first invoice, make sure you set a clear deadline and give the customer an easy route to payment. Number 5, have a penalty in place. You pay your credit card invoice on time every month because you love meeting arbitrary deadlines and it seems such a nice thing to do for the bank, right? No, of course not. You pay on time because those bastards will charge you $50 if you don't. And they'll send you another annoying letter and they'll threaten your credit. So don't worry about seeming mean. Your business depends on the cash that you get paid. And if somebody thinks, oh, just let the date slide, you make bloody sure that they know it's going to cost them. And number 6, pick up the phone. We love email and a lot of tools exist to help your business get paid digitally, but sometimes, a voice can help. When things are coming down to the wire or you're not getting a response online, give your client a call. Be nice. And look, sometimes there's a genuine reason for the client not being able to pay right at this minute. So kill them with kindness, suggest payment options, show them that you understand your current situation and that you're willing to work around it with them. But never just walk away from the debt because it's too much hassle. As a final straw, you can call the person who signed the initial agreement and remind them, not too subtly, that they're the one on the line for late payment fees. Just bringing this all together, look, generally speaking, most people want to pay when they're supposed to pay. You'll come across a few customers who are actively trying to shortchange you, but people get caught up in the day-to-day of their own worlds and their own cash flow issues, and they overlook the things that are important to you. Set expectations, remind them on a reasonably regular basis, and make it easy for them to pay you, and you'll see a huge improvement in your cash flow consistency. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It'll help support the channel, and if there's anything that you'd like for me to talk about, drop them in the comments. Join our Facebook group, and the link is in the description box below, and I'll answer all your questions there. And don't forget to hit that bell icon and be part of the notification squad to get notified every time we upload, because I respond to questions in the first hour. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll catch you later.